Welcome back to another Deep Dive Explainer. Today we're investigating a rumor that's almost certainly crossed your mind, or at the very least, popped up on your social media feed at some point. It's the frankly terrifying claim that the perfumes and cosmetics we use every single day are secretly causing cancer. Now, as someone who spends a lot of time breaking down complex information, I know exactly how easily panic can spread like wildfire when our health and our everyday habits collide. So today, we're going to push all the hysteria completely to the side. We're going to look strictly at what the latest systematic reviews and data actually say.
Right off the bat, it's a completely valid question to ask. I mean, is your morning routine, the moisturizer, the deodorant, your signature scent, actually putting you at risk? When we're applying these products directly to our skin, day in and day out, year after year, well, it's only natural to feel a little bit of anxiety about where all those chemicals end up. To set the record straight right from the jump, the science provides a really nuanced reality. The research absolutely does not say that all perfumes equal cancer. That's a myth. However, it does point out that certain components found in fragrances and cosmetics are linked to cancer or hormone disruption, particularly when they accumulate over a long period. So while those terrifying clickbaity headlines aren't entirely true, there is a very legitimate, documented scientific concern here that we really need to unpack.
So here is our roadmap for today's explainer. First, the fragrance cancer question. Second, known chemical culprits. Third, by the numbers. Fourth, the cumulative cocktail effect. And finally, number 5, the verdict on risk.
Okay, moving right into section 1, the fragrance cancer question. Let's start by getting to the root of these widespread claims. The absolute most crucial point we have to establish here is the difference between causation and correlation. Multiple large systematic reviews have concluded that cosmetics and perfumes are indeed sources of exposure to certain concerning chemicals. But, and this is a massive but, there is no direct causal proof that using them leads to a specific guaranteed percentage of cancer. We literally don't have evidence that says, if you use product X, your cancer risk goes up by Y%. Pinning down a direct cause and effect relationship in human beings is just incredibly difficult to isolate.
Which brings us to section 2, known chemical culprits.
Okay, so if there's no direct proof of causation, what exactly is triggering these massive health warnings? Well, it's time to put on our detective hats and look at the actual ingredients. These are the specific chemicals that have researchers worried. Systematic reviews consistently highlight ingredients like phthalates, parabens, benzene, and PFAS. And here's the tricky part. They are often legally hidden in ingredient lists under the completely innocent-sounding catch-all term, fragrance. Studies have linked these specific compounds to things like breast cancer, reproductive anomalies, skin allergies, and even neurological issues. Basically, when you see the word fragrance on a label, thanks to a regulatory loophole, you're often looking at a complex mixture of dozens of undisclosed chemicals.
Now, if you read these studies, you'll hear the term endocrine disruptor thrown around a lot. But instead of just using it as a scary buzzword, let's clearly define what it actually means. Endocrine disruptors are chemicals that can physically interfere with your body's hormonal systems. Because our hormones act like a master control panel for everything from reproduction to cell growth, interfering with them is exactly what creates that potential link to reproductive issues and specific hormone-driven cancers over time.
Let's look at section 3, by the numbers. This is where we hit a bit of a plot twist in our investigation. We're going to pivot away from those terrifying chemical names for a second and look at the actual mathematically calculated risks found in the research. Take a look at this astoundingly tiny number. When researchers conducted a quantitative risk assessment of benzene contamination, which is a known carcinogen found in things like spray deodorants and sunscreens, the calculated lifetime risk was roughly 0.00024%. That is vastly, vastly below the World Health Organization's threshold for concern. So for that specific chemical, in that specific product, the evaluated cancer risk is mathematically categorized as very low.
And that brilliantly illustrates the wider landscape of the data. What we consistently see across these specific studies is that single chemical risk assessments, meaning looking at just one contaminant in one isolated product, generally show incredibly low danger levels. The immediate localized risk from a single spray of a single product is, mathematically speaking, minuscule. Just to reinforce this, let's look at another example straight from the data. Researchers analyzed actual perfumes sold in the Saudi market for DEHP, which is a specific type of phthalate. Even when evaluating the absolute maximum levels found in those products, the lifetime cancer risk was calculated at roughly 0.0005%.
The researchers do note this as a possible risk, but again, mathematically, it's just a tiny fraction of a percent. Honestly, if we stopped right here, you'd probably think there's absolutely nothing to worry about. But the science doesn't stop here.
Which leads us to section 4, the cumulative cocktail effect. So we're pivoting the narrative now to introduce the real core of the scientific concern. The issue isn't really a single product. It's the way we actually use these products in real life. The crucial point is this stark contrast. When scientists look at a single chemical in isolation, the risk is super low, like we just saw, around 0.0001 to 0.001%. But when observational studies look at real humans who are using multiple products simultaneously in their everyday lives, they suddenly see an elevated associative risk for cancers and hormone disruptions.
The research calls this the chemical cocktail reality. And when you think about it, it makes total sense. You don't just use one product, right? You use shampoo, conditioner, body wash, lotion, deodorant, makeup, maybe some perfume. Studies highlight a particular concern for individuals, especially certain groups of women, who average between 8 to 30 different personal care products every single day. 30 products! That creates a highly concentrated combined exposure. The danger isn't that one single drop. It's the long-term daily accumulation of this cocktail over years and decades. To show you the actual impact of this cocktail effect, let's look at a case control study conducted in Mexico City that focused on prostate cancer. These researchers didn't just look at single isolated chemicals, they looked at overall product usage patterns. For the baseline group with low product use, the risk sits at a baseline of 1. For those using perfume every day, the risk nearly doubles to 1.9. And for the group with the highest overall use of personal care products, the risk is 2.6 times higher. So the risk association more than doubles for the highest product users compared to those with minimal exposure.
Let's wrap it up with Section 5, the verdict on risk.
Let's bring all this data together into a practical, scientifically grounded conclusion. The systematic reviews emphasize that your individual risk isn't just some fixed percentage. It's actually dictated by several highly personal variables. It depends on the specific types of chemicals sitting in your bathroom cabinet, the sheer amount you apply, how frequently you use them, the total number of products you're layering together, and how all of that interacts with other chemicals out in your environment. Really, it's about managing these variables, rather than panicking over a single bottle of lotion.
So here is the impartial, data-driven verdict. Cosmetics and perfumes are not a singular, guaranteed cause for cancer. You absolutely do not need to grab a trash bag and throw away everything in your bathroom right now because the risk from any individual product is mathematically extremely low. However, the science is equally clear that the lifelong, multi-product accumulation of endocrine-disrupting chemicals warrants mindful, informed consumer habits. When it comes to your daily routine, less is often more.
I want to leave you with a thought that makes all this scientific data instantly personal. Think about your routine this morning, from the very moment you woke up to right now. How many different personal care products have you already layered on your skin today? Maybe take a closer look at those labels next time. And until our next explainer, stay curious and stay informed.